So, as I said, this book is of value for those who realize that they're their own worst enemy. So the first hikmah, the first one that he mentions, and the order is significant. Some modern authors have taken them and like put them in different order, but I think it's a mistake because they don't realize that the order is quite significant. It's like a path, a journey, going up steps. So the first one that he says, rahimahullah, min alamat al-i'timad al-amal, nuqsan al-raja' عند وجود الزلل. So the first one, he says, a feeling of discouragement when you slip up is a sure sign that you put your faith in your own acts, in your own deeds. This one, like I said, especially for people who don't think that their own worst enemy, it's like a big shock. It's like a shocking hikmah right at the beginning. Because what it's basically saying is you have to dispel your delusions. And the number one delusion that most religious people have, we're not talking about people who are kind of mubtala and they're tried with a lot of sins, but people who believe that they're religious or trying to be more religious, the common kind of thinking is, well, I need to do a lot of good works. I need to pray more, I need to fast more, I need to give more in charity, read more Quran and things like this, and then that's going to lead me to my potential. So Ibn Atta is not saying that that's not true, but he's saying, think about this. A feeling of discouragement when you make a mistake means that you are dependent upon your deeds. So there's two things here. One, just because you think you're more religious doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes. You still are. And number two, when you do make a mistake, if you feel like, oh man, I was just reading so much Quran and I was praying great and stuff like that, but then, Jimmy from the old neighborhood came over and, he had some weed with him and all is lost. If you feel that way, when it happens, then know that you're dependent upon your deeds. And you may be like, okay, so what? No, that's a bad thing, that you're dependent upon your deeds. It's a bad thing. You shouldn't be. In other words, what he's trying to tell you is, if you do slip up and you make a mistake, keep going. That thing didn't set you back in a way like all is lost, right? Because you're not supposed to be dependent upon your deeds. There's something else you're supposed to be dependent upon. What? Allah. Allah's mercy. And he's going to talk about some other hikam that come on later. I don't know if we're going to get to it, but he'll even say things more shocking to some people. Like he'll say رُبَّ مَعْصِيَةٍ أَوْرَثَتْ ذُلًّا وَافْتِقَارًا خَيْرًا مِنْ طَاعَةٍ أَوْرَثَتْ عِزًّا وَاسْتِكْبَارًا. Perhaps a sin that will lead you to be more humble and realize that you are in need of God is better for you than an act of obedience that leads you to arrogance and feeling you're better than everybody else. Well, what? A sin is better than an act of obedience? Yes. For what? For this. For you. Because it's not the actual act itself, but it's where it leads you to. It's where it leads you to. So maybe that slip up that you made, it looks ugly, it feels awful, but maybe you're going to become more humble because of it. Right? Maybe you were beginning to think, oh, I'm all that. Right? I should be leading the prayer now. What is Amin character? Who's he? I know more Quran. I have a very beautiful voice. I went to Hajj. I'm back now. I have my white thobe and I have my white kufi. I should be in the front row and I should be leading the prayer sometimes. And then Jimmy comes over with some weed. And you're like, how deluded was I? Man, I was messed up. That's a whack idea. What was I thinking? That I should be the one leading the prayer. And I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And now, you realize that all that good stuff that happened to me, that's from Allah. That wasn't about me. I wasn't really doing that. Allah was blessing me. And what did I do in return? I took that blessing and I attributed it to myself. And I started saying I a lot more. You know, those days when I was running with Jimmy and we were doing weed, I wasn't saying I that much. But now that I'm religious, now that I think I'm a better person, I'm saying a lot of I. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I should be doing this, right? And people should be doing this for me. So maybe Allah's reminding me that, slow down, hold on a second. It's not about all this stuff that you're doing, right? But where are you going with here? Where is this going? So let's give you a little wake up call. So we give you a little slip, so you realize that the one you should be depending upon is not your deeds. You know, it's not like you have a bank account of good deeds and I keep accumulating, right? And I'm running up to the counter on all my good stuff, and so I have a good savings, right? And then I see that as my worth, and I see that as how I am superior to other people. Well, Akhi, how many times have you gone to Umrah? You know, how much Quran do you read a day? Hello? I should be the one in charge. But rather see those things as a gift, as a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? One of my teachers, he said that الطاعات علامات وليست موجبات. That good deeds, they're signs. They're not things that then entitle you to other things. Say that again. They are signs of Allah's blessing upon you. Not that when you think you did them, you are now entitled to more things. So you don't say to Allah, you know what, I've been praying, I've been fasting, reading lots of Quran, you know, show me the money. Where's the good life? Where's the easy life? You know, where is, all the stuff that I've been hoping I'd get, because now I've changed my life around and now I want these things to happen for me. When we should really be saying, Akhi or Ukhti, your life is changed around. Who's the one who gave you success? Who's the one who now you left that life and now you're living a life of prayer and reflection and Quran? You want more than that too? That is the whole thing. What do you think you're going to get beyond that? That new Camaro? Who cares? What is that going to do for you? But that's the whole thing. So they're alamat. They're signs. Allah has given you all these things and He's reminding you, look at all these blessings I've had upon you. Contemplate on that. Think about this. You're already there. You think you still want to get to that place? Already Allah's put you there. So treat them as blessings. And then blessings require shukr, gratitude. So live a life of gratitude and don't depend on your acts. So that's the first one. The second one, إرادتك التجريد مع إقامة الله إياك في الأسباب من الشهوة الخفية، وإرادتك الأسباب مع إقامة الله إياك في التجريد انحطاطا عن الرتب العالية. Says, you realize the first hikmah is true. Okay, I shouldn't be dependent on my deeds, and I want to get to a higher place. But maybe there are some things I can do in this life to get me to that higher place. Right? There's a lot of obstacles and a lot of distractions, and maybe I'm looking at other people and I want to be like them. So this hikmah is for you then, where he says your desire to withdraw from everything when Allah has involved you in the world of means, asbab, is a hidden desire, hidden appetite. And your desire for involvement with the world of means when Allah has withdrawn you from it is a fall from high aspiration or high degree. What does that mean? Well, they describe two kind of states here. Something called tajreed and one thing called asbab. So, you might be in a position where you don't have to worry too much about where your next meal is coming from. And you're kind of in a situation where you don't work that much or you don't work at all. And you're kind of free to do other things. That's one person. That's what we call tajreed. The other person, which is most people, so I'm going to talk about that one more, is called asbab, which means you're in the world of means. You got to work, you got to get up in the morning, you got to get on the bus, or you're going to school, you have to learn, so forth. These are all of means. And so you say to yourself, yeah, subhanAllah, but I've been reading about these, these people who live out in Sri Lanka or in Yemen or in wherever, and they live in the top of a mountain, and they just make dhikr all day, and they just read Quran, and they eat beans and lentils, and they're so happy. And they must have a very high kind of understanding of Allah, right? They must be like living some type of spiritual life that I can only imagine. But how am I going to have access to that to here when I'm living in Atlantic City or Camden or Newark or Trenton or Allentown or DC, and you see how life is, and all these people who are kind of getting in the way and they distract you, and the boss at work is just getting on my case, blah, blah, blah. So I think it would be better for me to leave all that nonsense behind, leave all this dunya, and let me go to the mountain. Let me go to the cave. Let me just leave everything. And then there, I will find what I'm looking for in terms of my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then that will be the thing. And it sounds logical, right? And in fact, many people might even be calling to that. But again, another shock. Ibn Atta is saying, if you feel this way, right, then it's a shahwa khafiyya. That's actually not the deen talking. Shahwa means something of your ego, of your nafs. It's your ego talking. It's like you wanting to eat chocolate ice cream. It's the same thing. It's a desire. But he calls it a hidden desire. Why is it hidden and why is it not out there and manifest? Because you designed it and you dressed it up in religious rhetoric. You dress it up to look like something part of religion, because you're saying, get away from dunya and go to the deen. That sounds like a good thing, not like a bad thing. But Ibn Atta said, hold on, slow down. I think it's really part of your ego saying that. It's your nafs. What does the nafs want? Above all else, ishba' shahawat, it wants to fulfill its desires, and it wants ease and comfort. So maybe it's more comforting for you and easier for you to think about just leaving everything and going to the mountain than rather than with dealing with people on a daily basis and dealing with issues and dealing with people's personalities and their idiosyncrasies, right, and their rudeness and all the things that you think are getting in your way. And that's much easier on you than to stick it out or stick around. But Ibn Atta is saying this is a shahwa khafiyya. That's a hidden desire. Because the reality of the situation is, if Allah wanted you to be on that mountain, you'd be there. But you're here. And number two, don't think if you even get to the mountain, it's going to open up those things for you necessarily. Not so. Who knows more about you and about what potential you have than Allah? So He would have put you there if that was the thing that was meant for you. Do you think that you can't live in Atlantic City or Newark or Camden or Trenton or Allentown and reach these spiritual realizations and become the person you can be? Because if you think it's not possible in those places, then what you're really saying is Allah is not capable. That's what you're saying. Just like we said before, if you don't think Donald Trump can be from the awliya, if Allah wanted it, then you're saying Allah is not capable. And I know more. I know better. And that's a satanic thought. Because that's what Satan said to God, I know better. He said, خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. You made me from fire, you made him from clay. So how is it that he should be prostrating to me? So basically what he's saying, I know better than you. That. Allah knows best. Right? So if Allah knows best, then He knows if I'm going to be in this particular place, then that's where I'm supposed to be. Of course, there are conditions. Right? People always ask this question like, okay, I don't know about my situation. Maybe I should leave it. Maybe I should try something else. It's not working. How do I know what to do? And they said that if you are able to practice your deen, and your dunya is straight, it doesn't mean that you're living Hollywood lifestyle, but it means, you have a home, you have what to eat, all that type of thing, and you're able to practice your deen, then this is iqama. What we call by iqamatullahi iyyaka fil asbab. Allah has established you in that place. And it's not for you to reject where Allah has established you until He decides to establish you somewhere else. So if those things stop working, right, you don't have, the means are not there anymore. You're not able to practice your deen right. Or you're not able to make a living or live in the place that you are. Then that is a sign, right, that Allah wants to facilitate somewhere else for you. But if that's not happening, and you are secure and you're safe, and things are okay where you're at, then stop looking elsewhere. Right? In other words, stop looking elsewhere to be as a panacea or as a solution to whatever problems you think you have. Because if you believe that, then your problems are not the environment, the problems is you. And it's going to follow you wherever you go. Right? I've been to places that people want to go to, the mountain and, and all that. They have their own problems. And sometimes their interpersonal problems of jealousy and envy and all those things are worse than people living out here in the city. So don't think like that place is immune from that type of thing. Don't think if I only lived in Medina or I lived in Mecca and I was there 24/7, live there. Go ask people who live in Medina. And they're going to talk to you about the same type of, not that we, نحب سكن المدينة, we would love to live in Medina, of course, it's given to us, it's a gift, it's a blessing. But don't think it's necessarily going to be kind of the be-all and fix-all for everything that's going on in your life. That's hard work, to be honest with you. In order really to get it right, you have to put in the effort. You have to work at it. There's no easy road, necessarily. You have to put in the time. And you have to sacrifice. And you have to make decisions no longer based upon which is more comforting or easy for me, but which one is better for islah qalbi, which one is better for the rectification of my heart. And then when you start making decisions based upon that, versus which is more easier and more comforting, then you'll see a difference in your life, inshallah. It may not be easier in terms of your circumstance and your material means, but in the way that you cope, the way that you see things, your demeanor, those things will be enlightened, inshallah. The person of light. Imam al-Munawi said in one of the books, he's like, these people who talk about tasawwuf and things like that, he said, real tasawwuf is people throw at you rocks. You don't throw rocks back at them. You shine your light upon them. That's true tasawwuf. Right? We're not throwing rocks back and forth at people. They throw rocks at us. Let's throw rocks back. We'll get in a fight across the street. They're like you. Don't otherize them. Don't say like they're like some type of alien who are not, who will not be affected by the things I get affected by. At the very base, at the very core of it, they're human beings and they have the same makeup as you do. So if you throw rocks, they throw like you throw rocks back. How's that going to end? But if you shine your light upon them, right, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. Who is the example in this? The Prophet ﷺ. They literally threw rocks at him. Literally. When he left Ta'if, he left in a hurry because they're throwing rocks at him till his feet bled. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He didn't have just the opportunity to throw rocks back. The angel Jibril came with Mika'il and he said, if you want, we can make Al-Akhshabain, the two mountains of Mecca. If you go to Mecca, you'll see two mountains, one towards the Safa and one from the other side. We can make those two mountains collapse upon them. So not just little rocks, very, very big rocks. And they're done. If you want. And the angels wouldn't have come with that unless it was a possibility. And unless, even if the Prophet ﷺ were to choose this, he would be justified in doing so. He said, no, I don't want to do that. I would hope that from amongst them will come after them people who will truly worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to throw rocks back at them. I'm not here for revenge and retribution. I'm here to enlighten people. I'm here to show them a better way than revenge and retribution. And it was as he said. When the Prophet ﷺ says, I hope for something, it means it's going to happen. And when he says, I don't fear about my ummah something, it means it's never going to happen. So when he says about his ummah that he will never fear shirk for them after him, guess what? It means it's never going to happen. So anyone who says that there in this ummah there is shirk, he doesn't know Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He didn't believe the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not going to happen. There has never been anyone after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam claiming to be Muslim who said Subhan Muhammad or worshipped Muhammad. No one's worshipped Muhammad. People have worshipped Ali, but no one has worshipped Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "La akhafu shirka ba'di abada." I don't fear that, but what I do fear, that each of you will smite the other. You will fight amongst yourselves. It's as he said. Exactly. And when the Prophet ﷺ entered Mecca, possibly as a conqueror, right? Here he's coming back 23 years later from the beginning of the mission, and after all of the sacrifice and all the suffering that they did, he could have just had any which way he wanted with the people there. And some of them, amongst the Ansar, were very enthusiastic, too enthusiastic. One of them who held the standard, he said, today is a day of malhama. Today is a day of epic clash and battle. Just like we used to talk about in Jahiliyyah, right? When we talked about how we would have these epic battles, right? And we'd record it in our history books, and we would tell tales about them. The folklore of the Jahiliyyah was full of this. What they call Ayyam al-Arab, the days of the Arabs, when they would talk about their epic battles. So we thought, this is a day like that. This is going to be an epic day. We can talk about this battle, how we smited them. Someone told the Prophet ﷺ, this person, he said, Al-Yawm Yawm Malhama. He said, Ishab al-Raya minhu. Take the standard away from him and tell them, Al-Yawm Yawm Marhama. Today is a day of mercy. Not of epic battle, not of retribution, not of an eye for an eye. It's a day of mercy. And he told Abu Sufyan, anyone who goes to your house, this is the enemy general. The enemy general on that day. Anyone who goes to your house, he is safe. Anyone who goes to the Kaaba, they are safe. Some of the troops of his army are walking in, and they saw a female dog had given birth, and there were puppies. And he said, don't disturb her. Go around them. Don't disturb that. You go around and you go in and walk softly. Can you imagine that? Conquering armor, walking in, and it's like, we have to worry about the dog and the puppies over there? But he said, this is the way that we enter. And he entered with his head lowered. And the Quran recorded this. لقد صدق الحق لتدخلن المسجد الحرام آمنين محلقين رؤوسكم ومقصرين لا تخافون. Allah has made true the dream that he saw in the dream of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. You will enter into Mecca. You will enter into Mecca once again. Some shaved their heads, some with their hair cut after they did Umrah. لا تخافون. And you will not fear. So it's not about revenge, retribution, getting back at people. None of that matters. None of that is important. And there were people in Mecca who had done despicable things to the companions and to the Prophet ﷺ. He didn't tell them, get this person, get that person, get this person, that person too. And when he reached them, and some of them were so frightened, they were so scared, they went to the Kaaba and they were like hanging on to the sides of it. That's all they know. They still believed in some sort of deen, some sort of something sacred. They had an idea of the sacred, and they knew that the Kaaba was sacred, even though they were maybe worshipping idols and polytheists. And they were there. And they're at the complete mercy of the Prophet ﷺ. And they were shivering probably when they said, what will you do with us? ماذا أنتم فعلون بنا? What will you do? Because what we know from Ayyam al-Arab, from what we read about the folklore and our history, the average person would just take all of us out and then put our heads on stakes and then show them to everybody else, we are the conquerors. That's what the average person would do. What everybody else has done. He said, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم. I will say to you, as Al-Yusuf, Sayyidina Yusuf, the Kareem ibn Kareem ibn Kareem, the noble one, the son of the noble one, the son of the noble one, the son of the noble one. Yusuf, the son of Yaqub, the son of Ishaq, the son of Ibrahim. 4 prophets. The noble lineage. That also the Prophet ﷺ is from that lineage, from Ibrahim alayhi salam, from Ismail. And he said, I will say as he said to his brothers, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم. No blame upon you. أنتم الطلقاء. You are free. He didn't even coerce them to become Muslim. He didn't even coerce them to leave. Remain. It's your home. And you don't have to become Muslim. Not today. So, I don't know how I got to all that. So this asbab, living in the material means, if Allah has put you there, then that's where you're supposed to be for right now. And Allah can open up doors for you via that. You just have to, you yourself, open your eyes to the possibility. So when you go to work and you have to deal with Nancy, the receptionist, who always gives you that kind of smirk when you walk in and kind of a little bit rude and stuff like that, you go, oh, Nancy, how are you? How's it going today? How was your weekend? Everything okay? Did you bring salad today for lunch, or are you going out? Nothing wrong with that, right? One of the things that the true mu'min tries to do is that every interaction that they have with something of Allah's creation, they want to leave that creation in a better state when they left it. So just try to live that. Can you imagine that? Everything I come into contact with, I want to leave it in a better state than when I entered upon it. So maybe Nancy got in a fight with the boyfriend last night. Maybe she's not feeling so great, right? And it's not really about you, but it's about something that happened with her. So if you say to her, you know, how's it going? The Prophet ﷺ, he was the first person to say to people, Kayf al-hal? How are you? Did you know that? No one used to say, how are you before that. They would just say, hello, or good morning. In Jahiliyyah they would say, An'am sabahan. Good morning, that's what it means. So it's just like more about a greeting from you, talking about you, rather than something towards them. And then we have this new thing called Assalamu alaikum, right? Peace to you. So it's addressing you. And then he would say, Kayf al-hal? How are you? He would say to some of the Sahaba, Kayfa asbaht? How did you wake up this morning? So this kayf, right? How is it? How is it going for you? You know, really asking about the state of people. That's a prophetic sunnah. That's prophetic sunnah. And don't think it's only for Muslims, for everybody. There's nothing wrong with saying, how are you? We in Dawah, I think we focus so much on speaking, on relaying the message, right? أقمت الحجة, right? المشهد فبلغت. I made the proof. أخي, I actually told them about Islam in 33 seconds. And they didn't like it. Kuffar! Astaghfirullah. They didn't get La ilaha illallah in my 30-second stand-up routine. They must be kafir. But I did what I had to do. Alhamdulillah. I did what I had to do. You know, that guy who's on his way to work and he was running down Broadway in Manhattan, and I stopped him and I gave him the 30-second thing, and he was like disinterested, and he's like, get away from me. Kafir! I said the things I was supposed to say. What we don't realize is, do you know how long the Prophet ﷺ used to listen to people before he actually started speaking to them? What do you think the whole time before he was 40 years of age, what was going on? Why was he called the Sadiq al-Amin? Why was he called the one who was most truthful, the most trustworthy? Why was he the most trusted person in all of Mecca? And when they disputed after the flood took out the Kaaba and they had to rebuild it, and they disputed about where we're going to put the black stone. And they all said, I want to do it. No, my tribe wants to do it. No, I want to do it. And it got to the point they actually unsheathed their swords and they were about to kill each other. Until some more level-headed people said, let's do it kind of randomly. How randomly? The next person who walks in, we'll let him decide. I said, okay, fine. So they waited. Who was the next person to walk in? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And not a single one of them was upset with that selection. They were all happy with that. Great. That's what we wanted from the beginning. Excellent. Let him choose. And the Prophet ﷺ chose his tribe, Banu Hashim, because they had been the keepers and the ones who would take care of the Kaaba during the Hajj. He could have done that. He didn't do that. He said, let's all the tribes put it on like a big blanket, put it in the middle, and you all carry it, and then when we get to it, we'll place it in. And it was the Prophet ﷺ who placed it in that place. And they all accepted that. So he was a listener for a long time. And even after, he was still a listener. People would come to him. They said in the Shama'il that this girl or young woman came and maybe she even had, a little bit, as they would say today, mentally challenged. And she comes to the Prophet ﷺ and she says, I have a haja. I have something to ask you. I need to talk to you. He could have said, what's she going to talk to me about? She's like, No. He said, take me anywhere you want to take me in any of the streets of the Medina and I'll listen to you and I'll be happy to help. And he went with her to listen to what she had to say. Anas ibn Malik said about him, كَانَ لَا يَقُولْ لَا. He wouldn't say no. No was not in his vocabulary. He would either give them what they would desire, what they sought, or he would try to at least reconcile with them or placate them with something else if he didn't have it. To the degree that some of them came and they kept asking and asking and asking, the Prophet ﷺ didn't have, he said, who is going to pay for this and I'll take it on as a debt? And Umar said to him, Ya Rasulullah, Allah lam yukallifka bihada. Allah didn't burden you to even go into debt to help people. He didn't burden you with this. He's like, that's not what I want to hear from you, Umar. Someone else spoke up. Sayyidina Bilal spoke up. What did he say to the Prophet ﷺ? Infiq ya Rasulullah wa la takhsha min dhil arshi iqlala. Spend and do not worry about paucity, about little amount of money, as long as it's coming from the one who is of the throne, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says to Bilal or something like it, هَذَا مَا أَرَدْتَ يَا Bilal. That's what I wanted to hear. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And in هذا الموقف, we say Umar, in general, he is superior to Bilal. But on this particular moment, when he said that, he was the one. Allah فضله في هذا الموقف. Allah preferred him in this particular instance with him saying that to the Prophet ﷺ. And so the generosity of the Prophet ﷺ, generosity not of his money per se, even that was very generous, of his soul. This is what we want. We want generosity of the soul. It's much easier to be generous with money, especially if you have a lot of it. But can you be generous with your soul? Can you forgive? Can you pardon? Can you look away? Can you have a good opinion of people? That's the generosity of the soul. That was the generosity of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So, just to wrap up this particular hikmah, the other part of it, your desire to be in a world of means, when Allah has taken your means for you, right? It's coming down from al-himma, or rutab al-aliyah, from a high place. Why? Allah has taken care of all these things that everybody else is worrying about. And He's freed you up to do more worship, to do more ibadah. Now you want to go back to that because you think, well, if I'm in that position, I'll have more means, I could spend it, that would be a better way. Where you're at right now, if your deen is straight and your means are straight, you have a roof over your head, you have meals, then don't worry about anything else. Stay where you are and then work from that particular point. Wallahu a'lam.